Hey there, YouTube. I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough and my own review of the Tianli loose mortising jig. So this has kind of been said as a replacement for the Domino from Festool, which is a pricey tool. It's an awesome tool. I don't personally have one. I've used one before, so I'm familiar with it, but I don't own one. But this is a lot cheaper. So this is around 200 bucks. You can find them on eBay, but if you go to a link in the description, there's actually a website that sells them cheaper. At least they were cheaper right now. So I want to say this was about $185, and then with tax and everything, I think it got to around $200, which is cheaper than what you're going to see on eBay with shipping. So it's a pretty basic jig, and it works with, from what I understand, two types of routers. Either the DeWalt router, which I've got here. There is the model number. And then there's also a Makita router. The main thing that you have to be concerned with is the diameter of this portion of the router, because there's two sizes that this jig can hold. And so those are the two routers that they were created for. So you may be able to go get like a router from like a Harbor Freight or a different brand, and it may work with it. But those are the two routers that you can use with this jig. And so it basically just goes in here. Your router goes in here, and then you tighten down these two bolts. That kind of locks your router in place. And as you can see, it moves side to side, and then it also moves forward and back. So when you go to cut out the for the tenon, you're basically going to push forward and then rock it back and forth. It is very well made. It's basically solid aluminum. I was very impressed with the quality of this jig. After watching some other YouTube channels, I didn't really believe it until I saw it in person, but it's very high quality. So you can cut different size mortises by changing the router bit that you use. This is a 5mm router. It does not come with a router bit, so I had to go buy one. This is the bit that I purchased off of Amazon. It's a white side router. So this is kind of the one that I got. I've been very happy with it. White side makes really good router bits. But you could, if you wanted a larger mortise, you could just get a bigger router bit if you need to, as long as it fits in the 1/4" shank here. As far as adjustments, there's a couple adjustments that you can make on this side. As you can see, you can change this knob. This will allow you to adjust the vertical placement of the mortise within the wood that you're cutting into. And then you have a little stop collar right here. This will adjust how far in the actual mortise goes. So when you push forward on the router here, you'll see it stops in there, so you can adjust that back and forth. That makes it a little bit easier to determine the depth of your cut. And then there's one other adjustment that you can make, which is down here. So you can see there's those two like brass blocks there. Those will go in and out. So as you would make the adjustments with this knob, that'll adjust the back and forth, or the width of the mortise that you're going to cut. And so a few different adjustments there, but it's super easy. I'm probably only going to cut one type of mortise joint with this, so you know, I'm basically going to just set it and forget it here. So the only thing I'll have to do is just change out. I'm probably going to buy another one of these routers so that I can just leave this router in this jig and then never have to mess with it. But like I said, you can take the router in and out by just using, loosen up a couple of these hex bolts here. So let's go ahead and let's cut a couple mortise joints here. So I'm just gonna pair up a couple of pieces of a couple boards here. And so what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna make a mark just right on the board. All right, and then so that's where I'm gonna put my little mark right here on. So I'll line that up with the mark. The main thing that you want to do, you don't have to center it in the middle of the board, so you don't have to make sure that you're centered with your bit right in the center of the piece that you're cutting. The main thing is you want to make sure that you're always referencing off of the top on both sides. So I've got my mark here, but you could do something like that and put a T for top. That means this is always going to be the side that is facing up. All right, so let's go ahead and let me plug in my router here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll cut this out, and then we'll take a look at how the fit is. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut it and see how it does. So like I said, I've made a mark here where I want to cut. So basically just have to bring it to the edge. You're going to line up the little arrow on the jig with the end of with the line that you made on the piece. Just turn it on. As you can see, it's a nice, really clean mortise. I mean, I imagine that has a lot to do with the bit that you get, if you get a good quality bit, but that is a clean mortise. So let's do one on the other side, and then we'll go ahead and put it together, and we'll see how the fit is. So again, just gonna line it up, line the arrow up with the mark that I made. There's the other side. All right, so we've got both of our sides here. As you can see, both of them are super clean. So as far as like the tenons that you use for it, you could go and purchase some dominoes on Amazon or directly from Festool. You're probably going to run into a little bit of a size issue. So what I did was I just created some of my own dominoes here. So I just took some oak scrap that I had lying around and cut them to length and depth that I needed to. So let's go ahead and put it in there. It's very hard to do this with one hand. Let me... So we're just gonna push these together. Push those down. And yeah, that is there's a little bit of a beveled edge on these pieces of trim that I'm using, which is why you can kind of see like the line in there if it focuses. But yeah, that's like perfectly, because I reference both off of the top side here, that's a perfect alignment, and very strong, it feels like. So yeah, so that's just a quick look at the Tianli. As far as my review of it, I'm super happy with this. I could have spent, $1,000 or more on a Festool domino, and don't get me wrong, Festool dominoes are awesome. And if I did woodworking every single day as my main job, I would definitely purchase one of those. But for somebody who does more hobby type woodworking, who doesn't use mortise and tenon joinery a whole lot, this is a no-brainer. For $200, I know you have to have the router, but you can usually find like this DeWalt router for like $100 used. There's also a cordless version that you can get that'll make this an even easier jig to use. But this thing's super smooth, super well made. As you can see, it cuts great mortises. It's really easy to use, especially when you're not trying to film at the same time. I was surprised. I was a little bit worried that as I referenced the jig on the face of it, I was worried that I would have some issues with it rocking. But when you have one hand on the handle here and another hand back, moving it and pushing it in, I didn't have any issues at all. That was kind of my big concern. with this jig when I was looking at purchasing it. But probably one of the best $200 purchases I've ever made from a tool standpoint. I have a feeling I'm going to be using this a lot, and really happy with it so far. So definitely a recommend for me. Hope you got a little bit of information, enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.